High achievers are told that imposter syndrome is just part of the deal, that if you're really successful, you'll always feel like a fraud in some way or another. In fact, Business Harvard Review recently published a video saying that if you don't get imposter syndrome, it might mean that you're actually a real imposter, or worse, that you've got traits from the dark triad. I don't know about you, but I'm calling bullshit. In fact, I don't just believe that that's unhelpful, I believe that it's truly dangerous. And I want to explain why and what's actually going on beneath imposter syndrome when you've achieved a lot but still don't feel successful, right? The truth is, imposter syndrome, like hustle culture, isn't a badge of honor, and it's not a prerequisite for being a leader, and it definitely should never be seen that way. What it is a mismatch. It happens when your self-concept, the identity that you hold about yourself, who you really are, when it hasn't caught up with the reality that you're living. So on the outside, you've got the promotions, the credentials, the recognition, but on the inside, part of you is still running the story of the earlier version of you that had to keep fighting to prove yourself. That inner version hasn't caught up yet, so when success lands, it feels like it belongs to somebody else, or at least that it shouldn't belong to you. I know this firsthand. Back in the day when I was running my cake business, I'd achieved what most people would call extraordinary success. I was one of only 2 recommended wedding cake suppliers to the Ritz Hotel in Mayfair, London. My cakes were in luxury magazines and I was on wedding TV as an expert cake designer. On the outside, it looked like I'd made it. But inside, I was driven by the fear that it could all collapse at a moment's notice if I didn't keep pushing and proving myself. Now, the real issue that I have with the HBR video is that it says that you should treat imposter syndrome as a signal to work on your weaknesses. And that follows what we learned at school, right? You're constantly being told to fix what you're bad at instead of building what you're brilliant at, which is the worst advice in the world because it just drags everybody into being average. But, that's probably a conversation for a different video. My point is, when you apply that advice as a high achiever, it just means more pushing to be better, more feelings of inadequacy and more stress and a much higher chance of burning out. And like I say, I know this because that's exactly what happened to me. I kept doubling down the work, I kept working harder and harder to fix the parts of me that I thought weren't enough. What I should have done then, and what I do with my clients now, is to know that we are enough, that we've always been enough, and how to recognize those facts in our reality. Back then, my self-concept hadn't shifted as my success grew, so every achievement felt fragile, Like if I wasn't constantly proving myself, then it would just all be taken away. So how do you shift it? Well, I can tell you now that it's not by working harder and it's not by trying to silence the doubt, because all that does is to reinforce the identity gap. The way out is through identity recalibration. You begin by recognizing that your current life is real and that you are worthy and deserving of having it. And not by trying to prove it through external evidence, but by knowing how it feels to be worthy and deserving of the success that you have. Then you consciously step into the identity of the person who naturally belongs there. The version of you who naturally leads, succeeds, and creates wealth, joy, and peace of mind without question. Neuroscience shows us that when you embody a new self-concept, your brain literally rewires, which means that the old story of being an imposter stops looping because it no longer has a foothold. This is why I teach identity work as a foundational principle. When the inner identity matches the outer reality, the imposter feeling dissolves and you're not only able to walk tall in the life that you have, you can easily leap into bigger, better, brighter successes, knowing that you absolutely belong there. So just for a second, I want you to imagine what that's like. Imagine walking into a meeting or hitting publish on a project without that background hum of, oh my God, what if they find me out? Instead of that, you're relaxed, you're confident, and you're fully owning your place at the table. And, let's be honest here, right? It's probably a table that you've had to build for yourself, right? That's not arrogance, that's alignment. So, no, high achievers don't need to live with imposter syndrome. It isn't an inevitable part of growth or success. You've already proven yourself. You don't need to keep doing that. The real work now is allowing your identity to catch up so your success feels as good as it looks. And if you want to start rewiring those subconscious beliefs and stepping into the identity that actually fits the success you've created, I invite you to join me in my free 14-day mini course, Rewire Your Brain for Aligned Success and Lasting Happiness. You'll find the link in the description. And I also recommend you watching my last video that talks about why high achievers need to unlearn what we've been taught. Because trust me, there's so much more to it than just this. You'll find the link just there. I look forward to seeing you in my community. And if I don't, well, just know that you're ready. And this is where it begins. I'll see you next time. Bye.